Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So it is a new year, and as we know, there's constantly new makeup coming out, and not only makeup coming out, but makeup that came out that we don't have time to try because it's impossible to keep up with. So in today's video, I have a ton of makeup that has come out already that I haven't had time to try, and new makeup that I want to try for you guys. Play, put it on, see what's good, see what's not, and do an amazing like nude glam look. I really have like a 90s supermodel kind of idea in my head, and listen, I have a vodka ginger ale here because it has been a day. So we gon' sit down, have fun, you grab a drink, pause it, go get something, come back, let's do makeup together and just have fun. But before we get into today's video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting here a lot more in the new year. Hit the little notification bell right next to the subscribe button and you'll be notified every single time I post. I also am gonna be continuing to post a series I'm doing, which is like the best of the best makeup of last year. So there's more parts coming, so you really want to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of those parts. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get drunk and do makeup. Okay, so I went ahead and filled the brows. I did that with the IT Cosmetics Brow Power Micro Pencil. I love this pencil. It is so like micro fine. It is such a sharp, sharp tip. And I filled it. The color is universal, which I really can't express enough how much the color really is universal. It works on like everybody. And now I'm gonna prime the eyelids with something I haven't tried. This is from Revolution. This is called Super Base. It is a eyeshadow primer, but why I'm super excited about it is it's tinted, almost like a concealer, which you guys know if you watch any of my other videos, I love really just priming my lids with concealer because I want to cancel out any redness and discoloration so that my eyeshadow really pops. So this is very light, which I'm kind of nervous about, but I'd rather it be lighter because it's really going to make the eyeshadow pop. So we're going to prime our lids with this. Okay, so that is one eye done. It is a very thin formula. I do wish it was a little more opaque, but I like the color. I like the kind of evenness that it gave. But I do wish it was a little bit more opaque. That's all I'm gonna say, first impressions. And I did like immediately set it with a translucent powder because I could tell it was the kind of thing that was gonna crease, which isn't surprising to me. Most things like this will. I will say it's a little difficult, tipsy to carve out the brow, but I mean, wish me luck. Okay, not bad. That is the other eye primed. I am gonna say, like I said, I wish it was more opaque, but I'm gonna let the application of the eyeshadow let me know if this is better than using my like normal concealer routine. That's definitely gonna determine whether this is worth it. But real quick, I'm gonna do one eye off camera, Nikki tutorial style, just to kind of get an idea of what I wanna do today. And then I will come back and I will walk you through the second eye. Okay guys, and I'm back. This is the eye look I came up with. It is a very like neutral golden kind of glam with a thin liner just to hide our eventual lash band. So let's go ahead and do that on the other eye. For today's eyeshadow palette, I've been so dying to use this. This is from NARS. This is the Summer Solstice palette. So this obviously came out in the summer and it's just such a beautiful, neutral, nude kind of color story. And that is mostly what we used on the eye today. The only thing I did pick up a dark brown from another palette. I wish this had a darker brown than just this in the palette because that's actually more of a transition shade, which you'll see. But let's go ahead and do the other eye. So the first color we're gonna dip into is Seventh Heaven. It is this lighter transition color right here. And we are going to build this up in the crease. I don't have many NARS shadows like palettes, but when I used to work retail cosmetics, I mean, all I used was Makeup Forever eyeshadows and NARS eyeshadows because they just blended like such an absolute dream. And I mean, this is exactly the same quality as I like remember from back then. The other reason I'm obsessed with NARS eyeshadows is because their shimmers are just on a different level. It's like this weird hybrid between foil and wet shimmer that just honestly no other brand does as well. It's such a unique look to NARS shadows. So I wanted to get this one because obviously it's so useful for me for bridal looks, but on top of it, I mean, I am always doing makeup looks like this. I love this nude, neutral glam kind of a situation. Okay, now that that's blended out, I'm gonna dip into this darker transition color called Dune. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And we're gonna deepen up our crease a little bit more, but we're gonna keep this lower. We're not gonna bring this quite as high onto the brow bone because when we carve the crease, which we're really gonna do it super soft, I want that contrast between the carved crease and a darker transition, just so the carved crease has a little bit more of an impact. And I'm gonna bring it up a little bit and almost connect it to the inside of the brow bone here. I like to do that because inevitably when we contour the nose, that's gonna add a little bit more structure to the face. Okay, now we're gonna carve the crease and I'm gonna use the same Revolution Super Base that we used to prime the lids. And I'm using this on a Morphe M224 brush. And when I say I'm gonna carve the crease, I don't want you to think super sharp, like clean line cut crease. What we're gonna do is almost just lighten up the inner corner so that when we put the glitter on top of it, it pops a little bit more. So think of this as a soft cut crease, which when we get to the step, I'll explain it to you. But how I like to start my cut creases is I'm gonna almost put this on the inner half like an eyeliner. And then while it's still wet, look up at the ceiling and look down. And as you see, it transferred up and it almost gives you a cheat sheet of how high you need to blend that cut crease to begin with, or it's gonna transfer up anyway. Because basically if you don't do your cut crease this high, when you put glitter on the lid, the glitter's gonna keep transferring up onto your hooded lid, and I have hooded lids. So this is a great almost cheat sheet to figure out where you need to cut that crease. But like I said, it's not gonna be super sharp and defined. So all I'm doing right now is cleaning up that line. And what we're gonna do to make it super effortless so you don't have to fuss over this line being absolutely perfect is, now I have it halfway where I want it. I'm gonna take my finger while it's still wet and press this outer half just to blend it in with that existing transition shade so it's nice and diffused. And then give it one final look over here to make sure our shape is decent. So like I said, here it is. It's not perfect, but before it dries, I'm gonna take a nice pinched eyeshadow brush and actually run over the edge of this to diffuse and soften that cut crease and the line of where it was. So it is so much more hassle-free than doing a super sharp cut crease. That's what I like to call it. And as you can see, when you blend it out while it's still wet, now you have a highlighted inner corner where whatever shadow you put on top of this is really gonna pop, but you're not being super anal retentive about it being super cut and clean, because sometimes I'm just not in the mood to be that fussy. But anyway, now that the inside's super light and bright, I'm gonna dip into, let's look at the colors here. I think this is called Morongo. We'll go with that. But it is this lighter kind of champagne gold here. This is deceiving. It looks more champagne in the pan, but when you put it on the eye, it's actually more gold. So now I'm gonna press this onto the lid, concentrating this probably more on the inside of the eyelid than the whole thing. And now that that's pressed on, I'm gonna go in with Delirium, I believe, which is this gold right down here. And now we're gonna kind of marry this between the center and the champagne on the inside. So this we're gonna press probably like right in the middle. So we have that champagne fading into the gold and the gold shade fading into the inevitable darker brown that we're gonna smoke out on the outside half. And to finish up this glitter, I'm gonna take that brush that I blended out the cut crease with and just run this in the crease again, just to blend out this glitter and marry this shimmer shade in with that matte to make sure everything's nice and flawless and blended. The more blended, the better. Oh, I wish you could see these NARS glitters. This studio lighting does not do it justice. I'll try to put my camera on it to see if it helps at all. But I mean, this shimmer is just so micro fine and beautiful. I really feel like this is not showing up on camera. I wish it was, but it's so, so beautiful, guys. I can't even explain it to you. Now, this is where we're switching to a different palette. This is the Resort palette from Estate, and I am dipping into this Reserve shade right here because I want a nice, almost like cool tone-ish neutral brown, not too warm, because I really don't want to bring any more orange into the mix. But let's grab a nice detail brush, and we're gonna dip into this Reserve. These Estate eyeshadow palettes are so beautiful. I mean, and look how cool this color story is. It's just very unique. So I wanted to dip into this one to give me a little more dimension. So what we're gonna do is hug this on the lower lash line and into the outer crease. So what I like to do is really just shove this in this outer crease and get it nice and deposited and opaque, and then worry about blending afterwards. So this is why I start with my eyes. So as you can see, I'm really dragging this down, and we're gonna clean this up with a makeup wipe, but I am just too fussy with my eyeshadow to do my complexion first, because I like to just be as crazy as I can with my eyes and get it as blended as I want without having to worry about glitter fallout and this and blending it too low. And it's just too much pressure when I do my complexion first. And I learned that technique from working in retail, where you only had 45 minutes to do someone's makeup and you did not have time for fallout. So this is why I kind of developed this technique. So here's another trick. If you feel like I'm starting to blend this and I feel like the brush I dipped into the pan with is bringing it too high, I'm switching to a brush with nothing on it, or the brush you use for your very first transition shade. And I'm just gonna use this brush for blending. That's a trick to really blend out shadows seamlessly without depositing any more color if you feel like you have enough color and you're just looking to kind of diffuse the edges. And now to punch up the glitter, I'm taking a Stila liquid shadow. This is in Smoldering Satin, and all I'm gonna do with this bad boy is literally one dot right on the inner part of the lid here, right here, and then take my finger quick and press it in and almost blend it away. The only thing I really want to stay behind is the more chunky glitter on this inner corner, just so when the light hits it, it has more oomph, if that makes sense. I really just want almost like a really bright pop of loose glitter on the inner corner to give me that look. And I am very happy with that. And now I'm gonna go ahead and do a super thin liner like I did on this side, just to eventually hide our lash band. I'm taking my all-time favorite liquid liner. This is from House Laboratories. This is in the dark shade Black, which is called Punk. And I love this eyeliner so much because I think by far it is the most opaque black matte eyeliner, and I love matte eyeliners. And I think the mistake a lot of people make is they use eyeliners that are dry with a sheen to them, and then when the light catches it, it just looks a little messy. The more matte it is and black, it's gonna just look so much cleaner and sleeker. So real quick off camera, I'm just gonna do that liner, and then we will move on to complexion. Okay, we are done with the eyeshadow here. We're done with the liner. I love the way this looks. I really, a look like this I love so much because the minute you do your complexion, it just pops beyond belief. So now we are gonna move on to primer. This is new for me. I've never tried this before. This is the NYX Bear With Me Hydrating Jelly Primer. So the reason this kind of caught my eye was because of the hydrating claim, because like I said, my skin is just so dry. When I tell you this is like jelly beyond belief, it really is jelly. I'm gonna take this, ooh, it's cooling, which is nice, because I am red, as you can see. Wow, this really is jelly-like. Okay, and we're just gonna rub this in and see what it feels like. I love the grippiness. It really does have a tackiness to it, and I love that this is water-based. And I always tell people, a lot of people don't realize when you're using primer and foundation, sometimes you have a water-based and primer or an oil-based primer and then a water-based and oil-based foundation, and they can conflict with one another. So I really like that it tells you that it's water-based, which is really good even for people with oily skin if you just want a nice hydrating primer. So yeah, we'll see how this looks with the foundation, but yeah, it's okay for now. I'll kind of be able to make more of a claim or feel for it afterwards. But let's dive into foundation. So today's foundation, This is not new by any means, but it's definitely new to me. I recently tried, where is it? The new formulated Maybelline Stay With Me activewear, and it claimed the exact same thing, that it's a soft matte finish. And I can't describe to you how much I loved that foundation, because I think this soft matte finish, a more matte finish foundation really is gonna show texture less. And I am just a very textured person. I'm obviously a man on top of it, so I just have rougher skin. I feel like foundations with a glow to it, it catches the light and shows that texture more. So I've really been wanting to dive into more matte foundations that are still hydrating, because I really am combo. I am so dry all around here and in between my brows, but all here I'm oily on my T-zone. So this is not new, but it is the NARS Soft Matte Complexion Complete Foundation. And obviously everyone who tried this back like a year ago when it came out was obsessed with it. So I've been dying to try it. I will say I already used this once and I kind of really loved it, but it was for a super quick video. So I really didn't get to compartmentalize or like sit down and kind of process it. So I'm excited to dive into this one. Before I dive into foundation, as always, I'm gonna color correct real quick. So just give me a second to do that. I use this is the LA Girl Pro Conceal in Peach. There is no better color corrector for me, and I'm just going to color correct certain areas down here. Alrighty, we are color corrected. Now we're gonna go in with our foundation. My shade in this foundation from NARS is Mont Blanc. I will say that about NARS. I love that every foundation has the same names, and the same names really are the same shade. That's like my favorite thing about it. Another thing I wanted to share with you guys in this video is my all-time favorite foundation brush. I have one in my kit, but I just picked one up for myself for my studio filming, and this is the Ulta, what is it called? The Ulta Precision Foundation Brush. This is the number 12 brush, and I use this on every single client. It is ergonomically designed to be perfect. It just fits right everywhere you need it to go. It blends the foundation out like a dream. I normally apply my foundation with a brush and then go in with a beauty blender to smooth everything out anyway, so it's really not the end of the world, like if you're, my routine, if my brush isn't perfect. But I just wanted to get my holy grail brush for myself after all of this time. So let's dot some foundation on, go ahead and blend out half the face just to check out this coverage and how this foundation looks. Alrighty, so this is half the face done, and I'm loving it so far. What I'm gonna do, I'm picking up the excess on the back of my hand with this sponge from Koki, and I'm just building it up to see if it is buildable. I just want a little more coverage around this area where I tend to get redder, and especially on my nose. But first impressions of this, obviously you guys can see the difference between one side and the other. This gives coverage. I mean, look at this. It is really flawless, like nothing is peeking through. But my favorite thing about it is when they say soft matte, they really mean soft matte. Like, it is matte, but it is not dry at all. It is not clinging to any dryness. It is actually blurring my pores. It's making my pores look beautiful, and I have such big pores on my nose and on the sides of my nose, and this is looking gorgeous. It is buildable. That covered the way I wanted it to when I added a little more with the sponge on it. So yeah, this really is gorgeous. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other side of my face real quick with the exact same technique, and we'll be right back to start contouring. Okay, foundation is done, and we are gonna move on to contouring. I like to do cream contouring before I do my concealer, and I have a new cream contour I've never tried before that I'm so excited to dive into. This is also from NARS. I apologize for the dirty packaging. This is the Laguna Sun-Kissed Bronzing Cream, and what I thought would be cool to do is I want to compare this to my like holy grail, which is the Huda Beauty. What did I just say? Huda Beauty. Tongue twister. I think I need another sip of vodka. This is my holy grail. I use this constantly, the Huda Beauty Tantour, and this is in the shade Fair, and my NARS is in the shade Laguna. So let's just actually swatch them on the back of my hand so we can see the difference before we get it on the skin. This here, the first one is NARS, and that's Huda Beauty right here. They're almost identical, which is funny because I feel like that's why I liked the look of the NARS, because I like Huda so much. I will say, let me put a little more Huda on to like match the opacity. Gun to my head, I feel like the NARS is a hair more cool tone, which I'm not mad at, because with cream contouring, I want it to be cool tone because I want to sculpt with cream contour rather than bronze. Let's do one on one side and one on the other and see which one we like better. So let's start with my tried and true. This is the Huda. I'm gonna take my beauty blender. I like to dip right into the product like this, bounce the buildup on the back of my hand just so I don't go in too heavy right out of the gate. And let's do this side with Huda. And now we're going to dip into the NARS Laguna. I'm gonna do the same technique. That's the technique that works for me. I'm gonna dip my sponge in and kind of pat and twist it and see. Okay, let me do the same thing and dot it on the back of my arm here. Okay, wow. I'll say much more opaque. It's definitely more full-ish coverage than the Huda, and I'm hoping that doesn't end up not blending out as well as the Huda, but let's see. So we're gonna do the NARS on this side. Immediately, the difference I noticed between the two, they are so similar in color. This is again Fair in Huda Beauty and Laguna in NARS. Is the NARS is more opaque, but blends out just as good. So to me, the difference was Huda, I needed 2 dips to get what I got over here, compared to NARS was 1 dip, literally did the entire side of my face, and that was with me blotting off most of it before I even started over here. You can see the difference in 1 dot. It's just more opaque. So it's kind of funny because it's like, I feel like the NARS might be more expensive, but you're gonna get more out of it because you're not using as much. Cool, neither one, I mean, the NARS didn't flop. I love it, I love the color. Yeah, let's move on to concealer. So for concealer, I picked up a new product I've never tried before. This is from Winky Lux. This is their full coverage under eye concealer in the shade Light. Winky Lux packaging is so cute. It's like just so unique, which I really appreciate in a brand. I'll say this is the second to lightest shade, and Mama is dark. She really is not as light as I thought. I thought the lightest was gonna be too light, but I have a little bit on the back of my hand, and it looks like it really, I mean, that looks lighter, but when I blend this out and it sits for a second, it honestly looks more like a shade I would use for foundation than concealer, or I should say not the kind of lightness I use in a concealer. So I'm gonna squirt a little bit out on the back of my hand here, and then I'm gonna take my concealer brush, I think, and we'll blend this out or deposit it with a brush first and then blend this out with my beauty blender as I normally would. Okay, so I'm gonna dip into this concealer. I normally color correct, I'm not gonna because we're using a new one and I wanna see what this looks like. And to be honest with you, it kind of looks very peachy and too dark. So I think it's almost gonna be a color corrector, which is why I'm not really investing the time in doing the color corrector. But let's start applying this and see what happens. Okay, so like I said, she is full coverage. She definitely has the coverage. So let's go ahead and blend this out with my e.l.f. Camo Beauty Sponge. This is my favorite concealer sponge. Okay, so let me say this. First impressions, you can see the difference between my eyes here. It's definitely full coverage, which I love. It is really creamy, which I appreciate. I think it looks beautiful on the skin. It is not light enough for me. I like more of a highlight, but I would say if you get this in the right color for you, it's pretty great. Like, that is more of what I like to do, and I know it looks crazy when you apply it, but when you blend it out, it really gives you the highlight you're looking for, because the minute you set your concealer with an under eye powder, it darkens it, and honestly does, no matter how, and I use a white under eye powder, but it still darkens it. So I like to go a little bit lighter with my concealer to add that highlight in so I don't lose it when I go and set it. So yeah, like that is, you see the difference, that is the level of brightness. I like to have in the under eye, because the minute we set this, it's gonna tone it down. And if I had set just that darker Winky Lux concealer, it would be too dark and I would lose all the highlight. But I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye. I'm gonna take the Winky Lux concealer, paint this on, and then I'm gonna brighten it with the e.l.f. just so we have matching under eyes, and then we'll be ready to set the complexion. Okay guys, everything is highlighted with the concealer the way I want it. I already went ahead and set my under eyes. I always set my under eyes immediately after I do my concealer, because the longer it sits, the more it's gonna crease. So I just like to set it with concealer as quick as I can, but I set it with the Kimchi Chic setting powder in the white shade. And now I think I'm gonna take my Kimchi powder and set the rest of my face. This is in the translucent shade. Just go in with a fluffy brush, swirl it around the lid a little bit. Ooh, that was too much. Wow, it's everywhere. Okay. And now with this, I'm just gonna go ahead and press this into the skin just to set everything. And now the next step, what I like to do to smooth out my skin and really have assurance that everything's just gonna look super smooth, I like to go in with a powder foundation. So this is the Clean Fresh powder from CoverGirl. I love this powder, and it is in the shade 120. And I like to dip in with a nice big fluffy brush and just press and roll this onto the skin. Tap off the excess here, and this gives one of just the most smooth finishes to the skin, especially when you're going more like full coverage glam like this. Okay, now that everything is set with that foundation powder, my skin just looks so smooth from it. I love it so much, honestly. I might go in with the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush powder, which I love. That is newer to me, and I've just loved it on clients, but I want to actually see first. I want to bronze up the skin just to see if I need to add that highlight in contrast. I have no new powder bronzer, so I'm gonna go in with my tried and true. This is the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer in the shade 300. Let me open this up and go in with my bronzing brush, and let's bronze up the skin. Okay, so we bronze things up with the Milani, and now what I like to do is I do that more in a general area, like kind of all over, to give me a general bronzy glow, and then I take a more cool tone powder, something like this one in the Anastasia, and I actually use this one to kind of just sculpt a little bit more and add a little bit more like dimension and contour to the face. Let's deepen up these sockets here. Do you see that difference? Look at the way that is more chiseled and sunken in compared to this side. It just adds that really contoured, carved out, sculpted look. And I am gonna clean it up with a little translucent powder to really make sure it's sharp. Alrighty, let's go in with a little blush. This is my favorite blush of the moment. I'm so obsessed with this. This is the Milani Luminoso blush, the baked blush. We're gonna dip in with our blush brush. I love blush so much. Oh my god. This is one of the most beautiful blushes, especially for makeup artists, because it works on so many people, and I feel like it brings out the tan in most people, which obviously is, especially for bridal clients, mostly what they're looking for. Oh, that is so beautiful. I just love the way that blush looks. It's like one of my favorites, honestly. Now that most of the sculpting, contouring, and blush is done, I am going to dip in with my beauty blender and just carve out the face a little bit to clean everything up. So what I like to do is take my damp beauty blender, dip into that translucent powder, and just carve out and sculpt, and you see the sharpness that that gives to the skin. And before we finish up the eyes, I'm gonna use my favorite highlighter. This is the Revlon Skin Lights highlighter. This is in shade 201, and we're just going to highlight the face a bit and also use this for the inner corners. So before we get into lashes, which we have a brand new indie brand I'll be showing you today, let's finish up our lip first. So I have been dying to try this combo out, and I got the lip liner, and then I tried to pick up the lipstick, and I went to about 3 MAC locations and the lip was sold out, which we wonder why MAC is just due. But anyway, I've been dying for this combination. So today on the lips, I'll be using the MAC lip liner in Whirl, and then I was trying to hunt this down forever. This is the MAC lipstick in Creme de Nude, which is a really beautiful nude shade. Okay, this is the lips filled in with Whirl. I'm sorry, not filled in, I should say. I did the outer edges and then I brought it in slightly, like not all the way to the inside, because I want to leave room for our lipstick here. So like I said, this is MAC in Creme de Nude. Let's fill in the center with this. Oh, this combination is everything I hoped it would be. I've been dying to get my hands on this, and wow, let me tell you, it did not disappoint. I love that kind of 90s darker lip liner fading into the nude look. Alright guys, home stretch. The last step of our tutorial today is lashes, and I have a brand new brand I am dying to try. So this is from Bali Lash. The packaging is gorgeous. These are in the cut Mason, my complete dream in a lash. But what really caught my eye about these is it comes with a lash liner that is actually a liner and a glue in one. So I love the idea of this because I'm a big fan of magnetic lashes, and for the reason that I think it's a little more seamless and easy to use, but the fact that this is like a felt tip pen and the glue is built right into the liner is incredible to me. But I would recommend anyway. I'm happy I did my liner as it was because I almost want to use this like a glue, but I think this kind of a glue, opposed to in regular lash glue, putting the lash on, put the glue on the lash and try to put it on is very difficult for most beginners. So I love the innovation of this kind of product. So what I'm gonna do is take this glue liner and trace over my liner just to add the glue on, and then we'll pop the lash on and see how it works. Alrighty guys, one lash is on and secured, and my God, am I in love. I mean, literally look at the difference between this and no lash. Like, this is why I love lashes. It just makes a world of difference on me. And the cut of these, oh my God, the way it's giving me this cat eye, I almost look crazy because I feel like it's making this eye look bigger and weird. Okay, we're gonna put the other lash on so I can spare you this situation. God, I'm obsessed with these. Okay, last step, well, second to last step, is a little brow gel. This is my favorite brow gel. It is a brow gel and matte lash mascara that are both clear. And it is by far my favorite brow gel because it dries totally clear with no kind of chalky residue to it, so that's amazing. And now the actual last step is setting spray. This is the Derma Blend Lock and Last setting spray. You guys saw me use this over on TikTok, how budge proof and amazing this is. So we are gonna seal everything in with this bad boy. Let's give it a shake. That is it for our makeup today, you guys. I hope you guys had so much fun drinking and getting ready with me today. This was an absolute blast. I can't wait to do this more with you. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell right next to that subscription button to be notified every single time I post. Make sure to give this video a like. Follow me over on Instagram and TikTok if you aren't already. And wherever you guys are, I hope you are happy, healthy, and have an amazing, amazing new year.